Hello everyone. I'm doing it up differently. I have decided to shift over to the Manager Hacker page, and then I will share this link over to the self-achievement group. I didn't give you any warning. I apologize for that. And so that is the way that it is. We'll see what happens and how it goes. For those of you who don't know me, first of all, my name is Dominic. Welcome to the self-achievement page, the self-achievement group, rather. Back up. Welcome to the self-achievement system. This is the manager hacker portion. So many crazy things going on in the world. Oh my gosh. Today is Tuesday. It's April 4th, 3 days after April Fool's Day. Bombing in St. Petersburg yesterday. Oh my gosh. Stuff going on all over the world. It's crazy to keep it all together. And on top of that, people have issues with their manager that is driving them absolutely crazy, and they want to walk out the door. So the question is, what can you do about it? So we're here today to talk about how managers motivate you, how managers demotivate you, and what you can do about it. Because you know how it is when you are not being motivated or you're not, having a good time, the tendency is to want to walk out the door, right? And not turn around and look back and have any regrets. But you can't always do that. So in this session, this is what I'm going to be talking about, is what you can do about your manager not motivating you, some of the things that they do. I've got some really interesting statistics to share. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. Why is it important? Is because it holds you back in your career. And if you're like me or like many people, and if you're being held back in your career, it just eats away at you. And when you don't make a decision, you turn around and you think about it and you have regret. You haven't made a decision and you haven't made a move. But there are things that you can do in order to keep yourself going in the right direction. So I want to make sure that you understand to stay motivated. Don't freak out about what your manager is doing. You stay on top of your game. That's the most important thing. So, is your manager killing your morale? Maybe not all the time, but when they are, during the times that they're killing your morale, it's a problem, right? How often do you feel demotivated and feel like walking out the door, but you can't? Some people will say, well, most of the time, some of the time, whatever it may be, it's only a problem when it's a problem. So many managers are totally unaware of how good they are at demotivating their people. And you hear stories all over the place. And I could go into a lot of specifics, examples, but I'm not going to do that because what's more important is for me to share the information about what you can do. All right? So let me share a little bit about some research that was done. Gallup, you've all heard of them. These are the people that do all kinds of surveys, and they check out the opinions of people all over the planet. And they did some research, and it showed that 70% of employees consider themselves to be disengaged at work. You may have heard that 100 million times. I don't know when that survey was done, but it shows, and it still holds true today, that 70%, okay, feels disengaged, which means they go to work, they punch the clock or whatever they do to, log in, and then they are like mentally checked out. They go and they do their job. They do their job, and then they get done with the day and they go home, and at the end of the month or the week, whatever it might be, they collect their paycheck, and it's like Groundhog Day, right? So they're disengaged at work. Managers are supposed to be engaging their people. Now, not all managers are like this, right? A lot of them are. Okay, they don't engage. They pretend to have a good, time and all that, but they're really focused on production. We all know that. So the biggest issue, from my experience working in corporations all over the planet doing training, is that the upper management does not hold their middle managers and their frontline managers, level 1 managers, accountable for making sure that their people are engaged. That's the biggest issue. So there's no accountability, right? So it keeps getting pushed back down into at the level of employee. Well, oh well, I'm 70% are not engaged. Whose issue is that, right? Okay, yeah, there's going to be the 20%ers that are not going to engage no matter what. Okay, but when you are one of those motivated people that have the the gusto to want to do something in with the company and advance in your career, but there's nothing happening, what do you do, right? You have to have some tools, right? So it's all about the production. So this is why upper management, and I've heard stories, I hear them every day almost, that upper management is so removed from the day-to-day that's going on because they're crunching numbers, they're doing their paperwork, they're having meetings with whoever, but it's just not happening at the level that they should be keeping their middle and frontline managers accountable, right? So there's another little bit of information from the University of California. A study was done with 50,000 people. Okay, that's a lot of people they surveyed, right? They found the difference between motivated and demotivated people shows that 31% of employees that are motivated, right, are more productive, are 31% more productive. Motivated employees are 37. They make 37% higher sales. They're 3 times more creative. They're 87, listen to this, 87% less likely to quit. That's huge, 87% from a little motivation, from a little engagement, right? 70% of employee motivation is influenced by their manager. 70%, the direct management employee to manager link, right, is influenced, right? So it's no wonder that employees don't leave their job, they leave their manager. Okay? Not a surprise. So here's how managers make things worse. First of all, they hire and promote the wrong people. Why? I mean, there's probably 106 different reasons. Maybe it's 1,000,006. It doesn't really matter. Basically, it's their interviewing skills. They're out of touch with reading people, with asking the right questions, making sure that the right people get through. I know that it's not always easy, but if you're going to be a hiring manager, you should have some skills, right? And the big bottom line issue is that then the employee is left holding the bag with these people that were hired that are not really fit for the job. So then you have to deal with all their stuff, right? The managers also, they treat everybody the same. Now, is that the right thing to do? Okay, so, well, everybody wants to be treated like they want to be treated, but not all people want to be treated the same. So people are different, are motivated differently. For example, people like big, applause. Other people like, no, don't. I don't want to stand up in front of the room. So people get treated equally, but they don't want to be treated equally. So what management can do is to begin to recognize what are the motivators and demotivators of their people. They think that they do it, but a lot of times they totally miss the mark because they're not asking their people the right questions during their performance reviews to understand what really motivates and demotivates their people. So they treat everybody the same. That's a bad thing to do. They make too many stupid rules. Oh my gosh. Let's go into the detail. No, let's don't. Because one week there's going to be a rule about this because production is this way or of some circumstance, and then they'll change it because production didn't happen or there wasn't enough this or there wasn't. They change things at random. So they make a bunch of stupid rules, which is very demotivating. They don't recognize people's contributions. And there's millions of different reasons why they don't do that. Well, the biggest one is, they're too busy. They don't have enough time. They're doing so many different things at once. It's usually not because they're lazy or they don't want to. They just don't make it important, right? So then people get demotivated by that. They let people slide on their performance, on their poor performance too long. So, it's okay when you have a new employee and the new employee is learning a skill or they're learning a system within the department, and then a couple of months go by and the same mistakes are happening over and over, and managers don't take a stand about it. So they let employees slide for too long. Another one is they don't keep their word. Commitments change with results, just like I said before. So managers will make commitments and they say, oh, well, this happened or that happened, and they come up with a bunch of bullshit excuses. So they don't keep their commitments, which is also demotivating, right? Uncaring about personal life, uncaring about personal situations. They're very hot and cold on this, really giving a shit about you because, of course, you're hired and they hold you hostage to, the production, the thing that you were hired for. So you're kind of like a paid slave. And if you don't do it, well, then, I'll care once you start to perform. So not all managers are like this. Don't take it the wrong way. It's that, when things like this do happen, there is a problem. The question is, so what can you do? 50% of employees leave their jobs because of their relationship with their manager. It's the relationship, right? It's how they interact together. It may not be because of the job, the job duties, but the relationship that the employee has with the manager and how they work together, how they communicate together. So they leave because of their relationship with their boss. So the boss, there's a problem because the boss doesn't know, or when there's a problem, it's obvious that the boss doesn't know how to create a relationship that works for the employee. Smart companies, they make certain that their managers are being human, that they're being trained and reminded on a regular basis to care about their employees, to be a human. In one of my last videos, I talked a little bit about some of the statistics that I found. It was like 22% of the managers that were considered to be great managers, 22% were like human beings, okay? It's a huge, important thing. These are great companies that make sure. The other ones, it's left up to hope. Never know what's going to happen. So, the important thing is about turnover. So the managers that make this thing about being human important and recognizing the way that they're demotivating people is all about turnover. So there's no way to measure, right? It's about an awareness, which is the number one issue. And I've talked about this, I think, in every single video that I've done. It all has to do with the awareness, the self-awareness of the manager versus their total unawareness of, of who they are, okay? So how managers could make things better. Now, these are things that you would hope that the managers would do. But if they don't do it, here's my suggestion, is that you do it in spite of your manager's skill level, right? Or their awareness level. Remember to treat everyone equal. No, we don't want to do that. You treat people the way that they want to be treated. So you have to really pay attention. So if you've got somebody that's really, let's say, quiet and reserved, you don't want to walk up to them with this, hey, how you doing kind of a thing, because it's going to freak them out, right? So you have to look at people and look at their state of mind, also their body language, and then you mold yourself to their style, their personality style. That's another topic that I'll be getting into later, talking about the different personality styles and how to deal with people. But in general, you want to notice people, and then you want to sort of mold yourself to their style. So don't treat people equally. Treat people how they want to be treated. Remember to set expectations. This is one thing that managers don't do. They forget. They come up with a rule, and this is the way that it is, and they forget to tell people, hey, and by the way, this rule could possibly, maybe, most likely change. Because if these conditions happen, this is what's going to happen. So you have to set people up. So this is the way that you could also set your manager up. Make sure that you set expectations with your manager about your results, about what you're doing. Same thing with your coworkers, setting up expectations. And there's 1,000,001 different examples. But set the expectation so that in the future, if something happens, that we did talk about this, right? So that's setting expectation. Remember that communication is not a two-way street. We hear this all the time. It takes two people, right? That's not the way that it works. Very simply, communication is like a three-part thing. There's a person, there's person A, there's person B. Okay, person A sends a message over to person B. Person B receives the information. Now, is that communication? No, that's not. That's one way. So then you would think, okay, so person B responds to that particular piece of information. Okay, then I will do this, right? So then we think, well, is that communication? It's not communication. So what really determines communication is when the person that initially sends the message, A, sends it over to B, B sends a response over, and A then has to make sure that B got it, like they got it. So they keep asking them questions or interacting with them until A gets it that B got it. Okay? That's like A plus B plus C. That's complete communication. So if I'm communicating to you and I don't make sure that you completely understand what I'm talking about or asking or requesting of you to do a certain task or a job, and then you go back and then you go do the task and you come back and you say, Dominic, I'm done. Here it is. And I look at it and it's not quite what I really wanted. So who do I point the finger at? No, most of the time people are saying, you weren't paying attention. No, that's not how it works. I didn't make sure that you were clear. That's how I take responsibility for it. That's complete communication, okay? So it's A plus B plus C, making sure that I get it. That's what you can do. So if your boss gives you some sort of a task or whatever it might be, and you don't make sure that you're completely clear and you don't get there okay on that, well, then you should be pointing the finger at yourself, right? There you go. So remember to be a teacher, not a preacher. Really important, because anybody can say anything about anything at any time, anywhere, and then they can turn around and do the exact opposite. So walk your talk. All right. Even if your manager doesn't, you notice that they're not walking their talk, and then you do it anyway. Keep your integrity. Very important. Remember to be transparent. Be open. Don't try to hide things. If something happens, if there's something that you did, hopefully it was an accident, the very first thing you should do is go to your boss and say, boss, this is what happened. I messed up. I wasn't paying attention, whatever it may be. Because if you hide it, if you put it, slide it under the rug, sometime, somewhere, you know that somebody's going to find out, right? And it's going to come back and it's going to bite you right in the ass, and it's going to be a problem. So you never want to give your manager anything to talk to you, to talk about it, to have bad thoughts about you, right? Because if it happens once, they're going to be, like, okay, are they going to do it again, right? So remember to be transparent, to be open. Don't worry about it. Just be yourself. Do things to give people, don't do things to give people have bad thoughts about them. That's what I just said, right? Remember to be humble. You know that word, humble, right? Drop the arrogance, drop the I'm better than, drop the ego at the door when you walk through, okay? Just let it go. Don't be the kind of a person that has that kind of ego, like I do that job in the world and hey, look at me. No, it doesn't work. The best thing to do is to be of service to people. So this is a professional environment. The manager should be the kind of a manager that is, although they have a job to do, they're there to make sure that the job gets done through their people. At the same time, their job is to serve their team, to give them what they need in order to produce that result. So it's about being of service. So if you're a great manager already and you're doing that, rock and roll. But just understand that the real manager's job is to have a relationship, is to have a very, very healthy relationship with their people. Okay? That's the key thing. So to be of service to them is like having a relationship. Stanford did some research. I don't know when it was done. What they found out was that if people worked more than 50 hours, so 50 hours, they had a decrease. It was a major decrease. I couldn't find the exact number, but it's a decrease, right? So one of the things that sometimes managers do in the name of production is overwork their employees. And I hear this almost daily because I know people that are doing this all the time. They're calling me on the phone. What can I do? There's nothing you can do. If you're being worked over 50 hours, right, the only thing that you can do is find a way out of that environment, okay? Or to get into a better environment within the organization that you're working for now, right? So if a manager's working their people 55 hours or more, there's like no gain at all. Zero. It's not that people don't want to do it, and there's some people that can sustain working 50, 55 hours, right? But, you know, it's kind of like the system shuts down after a while. And it's not maybe on the first day, it may not be on the second day, it may not be on the third day, okay? But after maybe a week or 2 weeks, it's just, this shuts down. You know, I'm old enough to know, and I've been around long enough to know that, you know, I have had motivation in jobs where I have sustained working 50, 55, 60 hours a week for months, and then all of a sudden it's like, crash. It's impossible to sustain that. So you need to be aware of it, and you need to plan ahead. So, anyway, bringing this all together, right, it's all great stuff, but what if a manager is unaware of their demotivators and unaware of what they can actually change? Well, right, it's in your lap. You know, you have to learn some of the techniques to hack them. It depends on your manager's management style, on their personality style, their awareness level, right? So pay attention to things like that. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say today. I want to make sure that you are clear about some of those motivators and demotivators that they do and what you can do about them. Don't be a victim, remember. Let's see. Don't be a victim to anyone or anything, anywhere, for any reason whatsoever, because the truth is that you're in charge. If you don't feel in charge, get yourself in charge. Get yourself into that mindset that you have control, that you're in control. Go to the mirror. Do the mirror process, right? Okay, today it's you and me. We're going to go out there. We can control it. If something happens, we'll deal with it as it comes. But we will respond in a way that we're not victimized, right? So keep yourself in that mindset, because it's really important. Don't be a victim to your manager. Don't be a victim to your coworkers. Oh, by the way, I completed a book again. Yes, it's how to hack a weird, strange coworker. We've got them, right? I offer it for free. It's on the self-achievement, I think it's actually here, and it's on the self-achievement group. So there's a link there. If you don't know where to find it, send a message here. The message comes directly to me. I'll send you the link, no problem, okay? So read that if you're having issues with people at work. If you learned something today with this video, as always, please respond in kind. Thank you very much. And put a comment, share it with your friends, with your co-workers, whatever, make a comment. It's really that important to me. This is the self-achievement, part of the self-achievement system. This is the Manager Hacker page. My name is Dominic. Thank you for being here. Stay curious. See you next time.